My wife decides to break my heart. She cheated on me, left me for somebody more successful in her eyes. Well, little does she know, a few years down the road, I become super successful. Well, I run into her about a decade later, and guys, you will not believe what she's been up to. One cannot forget their first love. My mother had told me when I was 14 years old, who developed a crush on his classmate, I'd laugh at her, albeit a little shy at being discovered, and I told her that's not every story, it does not have to end tragically. Now, I wish I'd sat her down and asked her about her life. She was an introvert, a quiet woman who led a quiet life with my father. She rarely laughed, but she was at peace. At 37, I find myself facing a dilemma. My past, which was a nightmare and a period of bliss, stands before me once again. I need someone to tell me what to do, how to save my family, and how to heal the old wounds at the same time. I don't want any of us to go through grievous experiences once more. That past is a woman. My first love and my first wife, Nina Garner. Before explaining this predicament I face, I want to give you a detailed background of who Nina Garner is, and how she ruined my life, but it's not the revenge that I seek. See, I met Nina Garner at university at a sophomore party, and our connection was instant. We were both students at the management department and lived on campus, which made us inseparable. Our friends laughed at us and joked about them getting up one morning to find out that we've eloped. Yes, we were in love. Our lives changed when we graduated, and Nina landed a job as a secretary at a new business company almost at once. But I wasn't so lucky, see. Even though my sister asked me to come back home and stay with my parents till I found a job, I refused. I wanted to be with Nina, and I moved in with her. Nina was her parents' youngest child and that much pampered, though she was wise, considerate, and had no qualms about being with me, a jobless guy. For 7 months, I worked at different part-time jobs to pay 25% of my share and the expenses, but it tore my heart out because that meant Nina had to work twice as hard. Despite all this, we were happy. After struggling for an entire day, we found solace in each other's arms. Our circumstances turned when Nina's brother got me a job at his friend's IT company. It was a low-time paid job, but still something better than part-time. Nina and I were ecstatic, and within a couple months I proposed to her in the most Nina-worthy way. She accepted. I'll admit, Nina's parents weren't happy nor mine. Garners believed that their daughter could not live the lifestyle she deserved with me, and my parents hated the way I was treated by the Garners. I was a blinded fool then. Too happy to read the scornful smiles from her sisters and the way her brother looked down upon me. Her parents refused to talk to me, and I was just too happy at the attention my fiancé paid me. Our marriage was a small affair, with only immediate family members. Nina had wanted to invite many contacts from her circle, but her parents refused. They didn't want to give other reasons to talk, and I couldn't afford more guests. Those days still feel like a dream, and I'd been on cloud 9 on the honeymoon paid by the Garners. Well, that was their last gift to us, before cutting Nina off. When our honeymoon ended and we continued our life, Nina wasn't the same anymore. She cried into her pillows and cursed at her siblings for not picking up her calls. She tried to go back to her parents, but they never opened up their doors to her. I was devastated to see her falling apart and, well, so hurt by her pain. I resigned from my job to be there for her. I stayed home, consoled her, and urged her to go to work. She took up my advice and put all her attention into work. She worked overtime and gradually began to live again. Just when you think that life's becoming easier and you've become overcome of all the setbacks, life has a way of challenging you. Once Nina was settled, I began hunting for a job. Only if it wasn't as easy as I thought. I'd forgotten that my first job was because of my brother-in-law's approach, and it had nothing to do with my own knowledge and skills. I'm sure many of you have experienced something like this. Seeking a job is, well, a pretty hard phase of our life that leaves us mentally and physically exhausted. We start doubting ourselves and everything we've dreamt of. Apparently, it was my turn at failing and falling apart at the selfish part of me wanted Nina's comfort, and Well, I didn't get it. Nina became more and more distant, and most of our evenings ended up in arguments. Mostly, it was her objection to my choice of part-time jobs, and the amount I pitched in her flat's expenses. Over and over again, I tried to tell her that I was doing my best, absolutely best that I could, and was hopeful that I'd get a job worthy of us. Well, she simply did not believe me, and she told me that I'd changed and that I was not the same fun guy anymore. Her words pierced my heart, and at that moment, I felt as if she'd stayed with me all these years because I was her fun guy. And it was then I got the news of my mother's passing. My entire world had fallen to pieces, and I was on the verge of insanity. During the darkest days of my life, I could not help but think over and over again about the choices I've made and the way I'd wasted my potential working at restaurants, as a server or dishwashing. Since I had nothing to do, I began sorting things out because that was the only way to figure out what were things that were going wrong and how I had to fix them. In those moments, I felt Nina's absence. She stayed with me for 3 days, and after that, she'd gone back to her job. I didn't stop her, not when she was about to be promoted. My sister did offer to help me out with job seeking, but I refused. It was something I wanted to do myself, and when I returned, Nina welcomed me somberly. She told me that she could not stay at an empty apartment without talking to me and thinking about my pain, so she would take on more work. She rarely came home, and I gave her space because she was earning what she deserved. She was a head secretary at the company, which was growing day by day. That's when I found myself at a job at a small law firm that had only just registered. The pay was not promising, but with the success, the employees were hopeful for an increase. This led to countless fights with Nina. Nina was not happy about my job. She didn't want to tell her colleagues that her husband was a manager at a supposedly non-existent law firm. On some days, I can hear the echo of her voice, telling me that I would never be worthy of her, ever. I was a failure, someone who'd wasted his potential and someone who'd thrown away a golden opportunity that presented itself. She was right, I believed. I apologized to her and promised her that I'd do right. Regardless of the way she treated me, I was in love with her and believed that our lives would turn around, and as long as we stayed together, it would work. Only, it got worse. Much worse. Nina cheated on me. I discovered it by the man himself when he'd shown up at the doorstep. He was a business professor at the company's boss where Nina worked as a head secretary. The two had caught each other's eyes at an official dinner, and Robert Crawford had sought her out after the meeting. The two had exchanged their cards, and before they knew it, they'd begun texting. Yes, Robert told me all of this while sitting in my living room and drinking my coffee from my cup. I was speechless. I didn't know what to do or say. My mind buzzed, and one sentence repeated over and over again like a broken record. It was my fault. I failed Nina. When Robert was done telling me stories that he'd shared with my wife, I gathered the strength to ask what he wanted from me. Politely, he told me, "Bro, let Nina go." When I asked Nina about Robert, she flew off the handle. She stabbed me with her words and waved my failures about in my face. She told me that I have not been there when she needed me during her hardest times, and she blamed me for not asking about her work and how much she had to take on just to get the promotion because I wasn't earning enough. Yeah, I solemnly believed it was my fault, so when she walked out on me forever, I hadn't stopped her because she knew she deserved to be happy. I loved her enough to let her go if her happiness lays elsewhere, and that's how 2 years of marriage went down the drain. Before I tell you the major reason for my post, let me give you an overview of how my life changed. When Mary entered my life, I met Mary Gibson in the hospital when I was taken there after my attempt at my own life harm. Yes, I did that. I had a meager job, loans, and a heartbreak to deal with. My mother was gone, and my sister was abroad. My father died when I was a teen, so it was just me, and I was spent. I was pulled towards Mary because she was the day to my endless night. She was that soft-spoken and kind-hearted, and she still is. Bit by bit, she helped me, and soon I was in control of my own emotions again. Soon after, my law firm won a big corporate case, and the fame brought us more and more cases, leading to profits absolutely skyrocketing. That's when my life overturned, and I married the woman who was my safe haven. When we had Kyle, our life was complete. It took years, but I have everything I've ever dreamt of. With Nina, and fate brought me back to her once again, and I have no idea why. After 11 years, I ran into Nina, and she was doing dishes at McDonald's. The sight of her rough hair, eye bags under her eyes, and dry skin sent me back a few shock steps. Never once in a decade did I think that I'd ever run into my first love again, and in such a pitiful state. Well, the tables have turned, yet I'm not happy. She cheated on me and left me at my lowest of lows, but I loved her. I might have walked away when I'd spotted her, but it was as if she felt my eyes on her. She stopped washing the dishes and raised her head. Her eyes found me instantly, and I could read the surprise on her face. Without giving her a chance to say hello, even when I saw her moving towards me, I left. And as I've given up on her all those years ago, the least I could do was ask her what ailed her. I could have offered my help. I could have offered my words. Just a few of encouragement, but I did not do that. What does that make me? A coward? Or maybe heartless? I'll let you decide. Update number 1. Turns out Nina not only saw me, but asked her employer about me. I'd gone there on behalf of my lawyer friend who's been fighting the owner's case. Since McDonald's is on my way home, I offered to stop by, deliver the important documents. She saw me and she asked around about me. Nina is still as daring as she used to be, I can tell. Once I was proud of my bold girlfriend and wife, but now I feel uncomfortable. I was already unsettled and on our run-ins, and now I'm even more upset about her getting information on me. It's wrong, very wrong of her, but a part of me wants to talk to her and find out the problem she's facing. I remember my struggles, and I remember the sleepless nights working at different hotels. I haven't forgotten anything about my past, which is why I feel sympathy, for Nina. Reconnecting with Nina is going to change many things. Mary knows about her, but not all the details. She did not force me to disclose my past. Not when she'd seen how devastated I was because of it. She's been so considerate, and I feel guilty for keeping her out of the loop as well. Now, I find myself sitting in my car in the garage, and I just got a call from the McDonald's landlord, who wanted to know whether I knew something about his part-timer, since she's been asking about my information. I was absolutely speechless, not knowing what to say to that, and so when he asked if I'd like him to share my contact information, I blurted out no. I feel sick to my stomach, and a torrent of emotions raging inside of me. Part of me wants to turn the car back and meet up with Nina. I want to know how her life has been so far and what made her work as a part-timer at McDonald's. It was something I used to do, and I can still feel the ache in my legs and in my arms. And Nina is someone who grew up spoiled with everything she ever wanted. I want to know what you guys think. Will turning a blind eye to her condition be moral, or should I at least ask what happened to her and if she needs my help? Update number 2. Well, I appreciate all the people who took their time out their busy schedules to read my story and honestly drop by some suggestions. There are many of you who wanted me to talk to her, at least want to know if she's doing well, and I agree that all of us need someone to hold our hands, pull us up when we're drowning, so I did exactly that, and now I'm regretting it. 2 days after my run-in with Nina, I went back after going through the comment section. She's still there, and the manager did not fire her because of her ex being me. Nina was glad to see me, so glad that she ended up crying. It caught the attention of many workers and made me feel uncomfortable, but I certainly could not leave her alone there like that. I did the only thing that came to my mind. I dragged her out of McDonald's into the cafe down the road. Nina told me that she's glad that she's run into me. She looked at the way I was dressed and the watch that I was wearing, and she gave me a bittersweet smile and told me that she regretted leaving me, Because I was the best thing that's ever happened to her. I didn't reply to that, I just couldn't. The pain she'd caused me was too real, and for as long as I'm going to live, a memory of her walking out on me will always be there. Anyways, back to the Nina situation. Turns out she did get better, and she did get together with a business professor, but after a few months she found out that he was already married and using her to cheat on his wife. Nina had felt horrified and had tried to get away, only the guy had to blackmail her. After all, he was her boss's professor. Hence, Nina stayed with him for years. Eventually, they had twins together and were discovered 7 years later. Absolutely furious, the man's wife filed for divorce and charged Nina with emotional damage and adultery. Nina's boyfriend cut her off easily, and she had no choice but to rush back to the family. Only they didn't accept her back. If they'd hated me, they despised Nina's boyfriend even more. With the money Nina had saved over time, she bought an apartment and moved in there with her twins. Then she began searching for a job and met the same fate as me. Now she's working as a part-timer just as I'd once worked. Nina has 2 mouths to feed, and whatever she earns is simply not enough. She's still searching for a desk job but is having no luck so far despite her experience. She told me that seeing there in the restaurant with me was like a dream, and the moment our eyes met, she'd felt as if her heart had started beating once more and came back from the dead. I had no choice but to give her an awkward smile because I didn't have any answer to that. In the state she was in, I could not be rude to her. Thankfully, Mary's call rescued me, but not before Nina took my business card. I'm sure she's going to meet up again. Nina's aware that I may be the only person who understands the struggle that she's facing, and maybe she needs some kind words or someone to give her a push to stand on her feet again. What do you guys think about my situation? Any suggestions? Update number 3. Wow. So the support I'm receiving here is overwhelming, and your suggestions are helping me regain my faith in myself. I must apologize for not answering your comments, but I do it here in this update. Things are spinning out of hand, and I need honest people to help me figure out how to save myself and my family. Nina came to me to find me at my workplace today. My friend was the one who called her in the front of the building and wished she'd introduced herself. As my ex, he delightfully brought her inside. I'm sure all of you can imagine that workplace rumors and what they're like, and I'm worried that Nina's presence at the office will reach Mary, and I have no idea how I'll explain that to her, that it was Nina who sought me out, not the other way around. She knows that Nina was my first love, and she's left a permanent mark on my heart, but suspicions are poisonous, even more than the rumors. The reason Nina met me at my office was that she had no idea where to go. None at all, and who to ask for help. She was wondering if anyone from my firm will be representing her in the case against her boyfriend. I did tell her that I was the last person she should be coming for as my work is related to management. She starts weeping, loud enough to catch the attention of those who pass by my office door. I hoped that everyone would have understood the reason she'd come to me, but no one asked me anything yet, and it does make me feel a bit uneasy. I wonder how much damage her appearance at my workplace will do to my reputation. With great difficulty, I managed to make Nina leave after an hour and a half. She made me promise that I'd talk to my friends to fight her case. That way, well, she would tell me the details. I know that it was going to be a losing fight, and no lawyer, willing or unwilling, will want to work on such a case. So, dear readers, I want your suggestion. Should I talk to my friend and ask him to rethink his decisions to fight Nina's case, or should I ignore Nina and leave her to fend for herself? Which option is going to make me feel less pathetic, and which will not destroy my life? Update number 4. Hey guys, it's been a while since I updated, but it seems that while I'm struggling to make a decision, Nina is taking advantage of the situation. She's impatient and desperate for my help, and yesterday, she showed up at my workplace once again. begging me to talk to my friend and take her case, and she says that she's not at fault and it's all part of her boyfriend's game. I listened to her patiently, and I didn't dare say a single word because I had nothing to say. On her insistence, I talked to my friend, and, well, he told me that he was not willing to take the case that he was just going to lose. I understood him and his position. All the choices that Nina had made led to this. She thought that every man she'll meet will just be like me and take her crap without so much as a fight, but she was very, very wrong. The reason why I'm here to vent and ask for your help is that Nina showed up at my doorstep with her twins. I was baffled at her audacity and absolutely furious. But I'm not the kind of woman who will turn away a friend or a foe from his doorstep, especially looking like the way Nina and her daughters looked. I'll admit, I was shocked to see how thin her daughters were. They're only a year older than my son, but they look so frail, fragile. Mary invited them in without hesitation, and, well, because of that, we ended up arguing after Nina left. My wife tells me that she was aware I've been running into my ex for some time now, and I demanded to know how she figured that one out, but she smiled and said nothing. She told me that if I want to get back with her, she won't stop me. I was enraged at her words and disappointed. Before our argument could escalate or I did something I regretted, I left the house. I'm crashing at my friends and my phone keeps ringing with Nina's name flashing on the screen. Let me assure you that I have no intentions of getting back together with Nina or beginning some sort of friendship. I'm telling ya, I can't seem to turn a blind eye to her though, it's just her recent struggles. Because of her, my life has been overturned once more by this time. I don't think I'd be able to take it. So, I need your humble suggestion on how to deal with the current situation. Update number 5, a little bit later, final update of the story, titled, It's Over. It's done. It's over. Before I tell you about the way things unfolded, let me thank you for reading my story to this point and being there with me throughout this dilemma. As per many suggestions, I decided to contact Nina's ex-boyfriend to get the full picture. Honestly, meeting with the guy solved many of my problems and helped me make the decision I took. Robert told me how untrustworthy Nina truly is. He assured me that he was sincere with her, but it could not be said for Nina. She chose him because of his status and position. Through him, she wanted to show her family and me that she was capable of more than we gave her credit for. And Robert had made it clear from the start of their relationship that he had no intention of ever marrying her, and was just looking for a little bit of casual fun. Believe me, I'd wanted to punch the guy, but this way of life has nothing to do with me. If he was that honest with Nina, I can clearly understand why things went wrong. When Nina had noticed the tide shifting against her once more, she'd met up with Robert's wife and told her everything, did not spare any details, about her husband's affair. It brought Robert's marriage to the verge of divorce and collapse, but the two talked things about and reconciled at the very last moment. That's when Robert told Nina that they cannot be together anymore and ended up suing her. Robert has no intentions of backing down. He doesn't take pity on his ex-girlfriend and suspects the parentage of her daughters after all this. I got up and quietly left his office. Whatever is happening between them or has happened isn't my fight anymore. Well, meeting with Robert and considering the advice you guys have given made it easy for me to reach a decision. I called Nina and asked her to meet at McDonald's, the place where we'd run into each other after a decade. Before leaving to meet her, I called my wife and told her about the decision I've reached. Mary, as loving and understanding as she is, understood, and I love her even more for it. Nina had put quite an effort to prim herself up. Seeing her like that made me recall the first few months of us dating. Thinking back about those days made me realize that Nina hasn't changed. She still has the same look in her eyes, the same crazed expression and confidence. She knows what she wants, and she knows what she's going to get. The only difference was I could see right through her all those years ago. I told Nina that I could not keep seeing her, and I refused to help her because it's not my position either. Well, she was shocked at my decision. It was as if she had not expected me to turn her down and see right through her. I told her that I met with Robert and that whatever went down between them had nothing to do with me. When they'd gotten together, as Robert had said, they were adults who knew everything. They knew what they were beginning and how it could end, and if Nina thought that she'd be able to take Robert away from his wife, she'd been very wrong. Not every man is the way I was. I loved her, and it blinded me. Nina did not take my decision well. She listened to me quietly and told me that I'm heartless and I've always been this way. She told me that I was lacking bunches of stuff and that she had no intentions of getting back with me anyways, and she hoped that we'd be friends and sort it out like that. Listening to those words brought forth memories of the past when Nina often told me that I was an idiot. I took her words as a joke, but now I see that they were anything but a joke. She humiliated me every chance she got, and I was so blind that I couldn't see how being with her was ruining my reputation as well as my sanity. That's when I told Nina that we could not keep on meeting anymore, and I assured her that I did everything I could to help her, but the mess she's in is completely her own creation, and I have no intention of destroying my life anymore. She accused me of being a pathetic loser and a coward with absolutely no heart. So I listened to her, hurling these insults at me patiently because it was her fury and her talking. Once she was gone, I warned her that if she tried to contact me again or approach me in my life at all, even once, I'll hold her answerable. She'd lost the chance of getting my help the moment she'd shown up at my office. And with a laugh, she told me that I was judging her when her intentions had been pure. This time I saw right through that lie, and she contacted me again because she had every single intention of becoming a part of my life. I told her that I loved Mary, and she was the love of my life. At the words, Nina scoffed and rolled her eyes, and I could barely control myself, but I did, for my wife and for my son. After telling Nina about what I really thought of her and our little meetings, I went back home. I sat down with Mary and apologized to her, and I told her about Nina's struggles and how I'd wanted to help her, but how helping her was affecting my own life, which I didn't like. Mary understood, and I love her for it. Sometimes I find myself wondering what would have changed had I helped her. As someone who loved her once, I should have helped her, but as many of you said, some people simply cannot be helped. They take your help, they take your kind words, only to twist them around and use them for their own advantage. Still, I cannot help myself but feel guilty. So, my final question to everybody is this. Did I do the right thing? So Ivan was able to fight the urge and resist his ex, who ultimately was working at McDonald's as a dishwasher and thought that she could weasel her way back into his life. Good thing OP decided to confront the guy that she cheated on him with, just to get his side of perspective of what exactly went down. Well, ultimately, OP decides that I'm not going to get back involved because I love my current wife. I want to hear from you guys. What would you have done? Would you be able to hold yourself together in a time like that over your first love, who was struggling at the time and just said she needed you? Would you go back? Or would you fight that urge and know she's just saying one big fat phony lie? Drop your comments down below, guys. I would love to discuss this story with you, so let's talk in the comment section. If you've ever been in a situation like this, I want to hear about it. If you're new to the channel, my name's Mr. Reddito. Go ahead and subscribe for daily stories. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.